Well, most of us have already celebrated the New Year. The Chinese community is just gearing up for its biggest night. In fact, couple of weeks. Next Friday marks the Lunar New Year and there'll be street festivals worldwide.
Sydney will host one of the biggest celebrations outside of mainland China. The harbour city has a proud Chinese heritage and I've been out exploring what influence that's had over the years. We're here in the centre of Chinatown in the middle of Sydney, which is going to be the focus of festivities for the 2-week Chinese New Year celebrations. Chinese New Year is next Friday. I'm here with Patrick. He's going to take me on a bicycle tour and see some of the main sites. Let's go.
Chinese culture is an incredible part of Sydney. Sydney would not be what it is without the Chinese.
2014 may be the year of the horse, but we've chosen bikes to explore some of Australia's earliest Chinese heritage. It all began in 1848 when the first Chinese labourers arrived by ship. From the original Chinatown and the Rocks, that influence has spread through Darling Harbour to the alleyways of Haymarket and Ultimo and even further afield.
These bike tours that we're taking out are to give you a good rundown of what Chinese people and Chinese culture is within Sydney. There is a plethora of different ideas about what Chinese culture is, what Chinese culture was, how it started, how it developed, and what it is now.
Next stop is the Chinese Garden. It's modelled on the typical private gardens of the Ming dynasty and was built as a symbol of friendship between Sydney and Guangzhou to mark the bicentenary in 1988. It's a quiet refuge and a favourite spot for many, including Daphne Lowe Kelly. She's a life member of the Chinese Heritage Association, who's watched Sydney change over the decades.
In Chinatown, in the CBD, this is probably the major Chinatown, but with the growth of the number of other Chinese who have come to live here in Sydney, there are also a number of sort of mini Chinatowns. Chatswood, as a lot of you will know, places like Hurstville, Ashfield, Flemington.
And of course that's reflected right across Australia.
It is, very much so. This is repeated right in the major cities, but also not to forget that in the rural areas, the Chinese seem to have travelled and settled far and wide, and they're certainly in all areas right of Australia.
Just how special is this time of year for the Chinese community?
Our Chinese New Year is probably the most important holiday for all Chinese. It celebrates the beginning of the Lunar New Year, and in the old days, of course, the Lunar New Year was really important. People used to have their birthdays and everything was taken from the Lunar New Year. It's a time for families, right, to get together, to start a new year, to make sure that people eat well, are healthy.
Lanterns are going up throughout the city and street food is being prepared. But it's next Sunday when Sydney will stop for the Twilight Parade.
Down George Street, they're cordoning off the entire street and you will get to experience so much of Chinese culture just by being there.
Until then, there are dozens of other events planned over the next fortnight, from dragon boat races to more bicycle tours and also art festivals. One of them is the Crossing Boundaries exhibition, celebrating the growing connections between Asian and Australian art worlds.
We have a huge variety here, and I think it's important to note that the word Asian doesn't only mean Chinese. It means a whole broad spectrum of like a diverse people.
Her father's love of peanuts and his mortality formed the basis of her work.
At the time, I was also looking at the ancient Chinese burial suits that were used to house deceased royalty back in Han Dynasty or something. Bringing wealth to the afterlife is a big Chinese tradition, and the thing is, my father really breaks with that in that he's very humble and he wants his death to be quite simple. How do I feel about it? I feel really proud because My Chinese heritage is something that I'm still discovering a lot about. And I think that's the contemporary situation of culture, is that a lot of it's unknown, a lot of it is discovered through your journey of life.
And our journey by bike is coming to an end, returning to Chinatown where the kitchens are working overtime just in time for lunch.
Chinatown is an amazing part of Sydney that has a place so solidly within Sydney that it would not be what it is without it.